The Negro Justice League.
Negro Justice League, a Black Nerd podcast, episode 90. I'm your host, Cherry.
It's your
And
boy
today
Jay.
we have a special guest. We got young Horatio in the house. Horatio, say what's up.
How you doing?
All right, so we're going to hop into the news really quickly, and then after that, we will be hitting Project Power, hopefully by the 7th, somewhere between 7 and 10, and then Umbrella Academy Season 2 at the 25. As you know, there will be spoilers, so, govern yourselves accordingly. That being said, directly into the news. Thanks to Strong Black Lead, who I know from Twitter, there are several Black shows on Netflix now that we previously did not have access to. These are legacy shows such as Moesha, Sister Sister, Girlfriends, Half and Half, basically your UPN suite of late 90s, early 2000s Black television. So that's really exciting. Again, most people, Black people for the most part, are excited that these shows are now on Netflix because, we grew up watching them, want to rewatch them. That being said, white people are in the comments upset that Netflix called them classic television. They really latched on to the word classic and said things like, Moesha's not a classic. And it's like, y'all got to understand that just because it's not classic to you doesn't mean it's not a classic. Like, you don't have to... They've got to insert themselves into the culture. Like, just relax. Can we just have it on Netflix? Like, it's not knocking. I know y'all mad about Friends, but this ain't got nothing to do with that. So, whatever. That being said, a lot of people are rewatching Moesha. Moesha is one of the first shows to appear. They're not all popping up at once. Like, there's a schedule. Moesha was first, and a lot of people are rewatching it as adults and realizing exactly how problematic Moesha is as a character. And then they're, upset about it. I myself am rewatching it, and Moesha is terrible, like the character. But that's kind of the point of the show. Like, she starts off on some teenage nonsense. Through the course of the show, she learns her lesson, and by the end of the show, she's like, "Oh, okay." She comes around. Yeah, I was wrong, and adjusts herself. And that's the format of every episode. So if she wasn't problematic, we wouldn't have a show. So yeah, don't see the reason to complain there. Moving on. AMC Theaters has been going back and forth, basically teetering on the edge of bankruptcy since March, since everything closed down. Their answer to this is to open their theaters and make all of their movies 15 cents for their 100th year anniversary. That's huge problem for me. Theaters being dark, dank, no light, no circulation, questionable cleaning by the teenage staff. Yeah, it's just a breeding ground for coronavirus. However, if they don't do something, they will not exist anymore. So this is them, I guess, trying to make some type of money. But I personally don't recommend y'all go. On to gaming news. Fall Guys is like the new big thing now. It's free with PlayStation Plus. It's relatively cheap on PC, and I don't know if I don't think Xbox is in the conversation, but whatever. It's totally fun.
You just don't know.
I do know and don't care. It is really, really fun. It's, you basically playing like a Wipeout or Most Extreme Elimination Challenge, if you old type game where you're running on padded equipment and pushing other people and trying to beat everybody to the finish line. It's a hell of a lot of fun, and it's really easy. You basically run, jump, and grab, and that's pretty much all you can do, but it's actually a lot harder than it sounds. And I just wanted to bring it up because it is a thing. If you play the game, we also play, so you can join our Discord and find people to play with. So we play quite often, or I play quite often. I don't know about anybody else. Lastly, for me, HBO Max is on and popping. It has all of its content up. I recently finally got into it because Lovecraft Country is coming out. I need to finish Insecure. And basically, there's a lot of Black content on there that a lot of other platforms don't have. Even though I just said Netflix just decided. And I think that's part of Netflix's decision to add legacy Black shows, because HBO Max is coming out with a lot for the culture. And so just having scrolled through there, I totally recommend it. Like, it is, you get your classic HBO, you get Game of Thrones if you haven't seen it. you get all of the Harry Potter movies. You get, like I said, you get Insecure, you get Lovecraft Country. There's a ton. The Fresh Prince episodes that were on Netflix for a while, a few years ago, are now on HBO Max. Like, there's a lot of good stuff. The biggest thing that I just heard is DC has decided to move their content over to HBO Max. So I think we discussed on the podcast. If not on the podcast, we discussed on our Twitch streams that nobody's paying for a DC standalone app. Like, I like DC stuff, but I don't want to stream their content enough that I'm going to pay for a standalone app. So they are moving this over to HBO Max. Specifically, the Teen Titans show is something that we discussed. In other countries, it's available on Netflix, and that was how we were able to see it, by actually having to leave this continent to watch this show. But in America, it wasn't on Netflix because they wanted to put it on the DC streaming app. Well, now it's not. I don't know if it's going to be on DC streaming app or not. Don't really care, but it will be on HBO Max. So that in particular is a good show, but they do have a ton of other shows all moving to HBO Max. That being said, we're going to transition over to Jay.
Yeah, just to say, all the DC Universal stuff, which I have watched, is going to be slowly transitioning over to HBO Max. So, Doom Patrol, Stargirl, the Teen Titans one that Jerry just talked about, it's all going to be moved over. Um, this is also kind of big news because DC Fandom is August 22nd. It's going to be an online event where DC is going to be discussing all of its major moves, mostly tying to not only what's going to be going on with their partnership with HBO Max, with that whole being the Warner Media situation, but also we're going to hear information about Wonder Woman 87 or 88. I forgot which year it's based on. Possibly supposed to actually see some slight teaser information for the Batman movie, which is going to be the Robert Pattinson movie, as well as other things like that. It's also kind of weird to know DC fandom's coming up because DC, unfortunately, just got gutted by Warner Media, their parent company. I think over 60 to 70% of the staff, especially in the higher up positions for DC Comics, was fired. A lot of people did not know this was happening until the ball dropped. So it's going to be really see fandom goes because I'm pretty sure a lot of this was probably pre-recorded because how else would you make something seem that exciting? Next, Netflix, although they've been doing some really great things for Black creators and trying to show a much more consistent kind of support for their original content creators, there is a big thing going on right now where the Netflix and the Avatar creators of the original cartoon unfortunately had a falling out and no longer working together off the live action remake or remaster or adaptation. Um, the creators very nicely bowed out and explained they just was a difference of opinion. But since then, there's been some more information coming out, which kind of points Netflix in a negative light. Three of the bigger things was not only Netflix not willing to deal with the higher budget that this was going to need for it to really be a high value production, which is what we were kind of all promised with this, similar to the Witcher series. But also, they were doing two things of trying to pretty much bring in some white actors and whitewash some of the cast, which when they originally announced this, it was supposed to be an all Asian cast. They specifically made a point of it not having any white actors because for the story it's not needed. And they were also trying to age up the cast so that they could make it a little bit darker, a little bit more mature, and yes, add sex scenes to our lovable Aang and his avatar friends. So it's probably still going to be probably coming out 2022, which was, I think, their original plan. But definitely a lot of people's interest in this is now tainted because the last time Netflix did something like this, we got Death Note, and it was garbage. Um, Continuing with that, Fortnite is also having some difficulties right now. It has been removed from Apple and Google Play app stores due to the fact that Epic Games, owned by Tencent, a Chinese company, was basically selling a lot of their loot information or was going to bypass the app stores to sell their loot and currency directly through them, which Apple first said, and said, no, 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 we need our cut. And once Epic said, nah, Then Apple removed them, and then Google removed them. Some people are saying this is a good look for Epic because it's kind of going against Apple's already having some issues with monopoly laws and things like that in the UK. Some people are saying this is still part of the Chinese US war with TikTok and everything. But if you are a Fortnite player on either one of those systems, I would suggest not doing any major updates because who knows what could happen. Last for me, really awesome information still, even though me and Cherry are both waiting for a movie that we want to see come out of Candyman, the reboot. Nia DaCosta has been officially connected to direct the Captain Marvel sequel, Captain Marvel 2, or whatever you want to call it, which is really awesome, not because she's not a great director, but most likely this means she is going to be reintroducing seriously Spectrum, aka Monica Rambeau, an amazing black superhero that I'm really excited to see. But also, it's just good to know that another black woman is giving a chance at a really huge budget movie like this. So that's awesome. Sure.
All right, time to get into our discussion. Like I said, we're going to start with Project Power, and we are going to transition over at probably the 25 mark around there if you want to skip Project Power and move on to Umbrella Academy season 2. All right, so Project Power, new movie, kind of billed as an action film for Netflix with Jamie Foxx as the headliner. I thought this was kind of interesting. Netflix typically just, their thing was to like, they started by showing movies that other people made. Then they started to do their own shows. Now, as they're doing their own, and they've done a ton of their own movies, but they usually kind of slip their movies under the radar. Bird Box is the first time that they really build their own movie and try to promote it in the ways that like typical theaters, not theaters, but production companies promote their movies. And Bird Box, everybody, I hated it, but it did well. And there's been a few since then. Project Power has been billed as one of their whatever a streaming equivalent of a blockbuster type movie is. And I think part of that, yes, they've been doing this for a few years, but part of that, I believe, is because everyone's stuck at home. And so the first thing I want to really talk about before we talk about the movie itself is, since we're stuck at home, and I personally, and I imagine a lot of public health people will not be recommending that you go to the movie theater, is Netflix a suitable alternative? And streaming services in general, is that something you're going to turn to watch these types of movies right now?
For me, I think Netflix has surprisingly caught this wave even before coronavirus. Like you said, Bird Box was a situation. The Irishman with Robert De Niro was one of their pushes for doing a movie theater movie, but at Netflix. Even getting Martin Scorsese, who is a legendary god at the movie box office. And they even had that one movie that did win the Best Picture a few years ago. I think it was Romania. It was a really beautiful movie. I never got the chance to watch it, but they've kind of been on this wave once they realized a lot of their moneymaker series, which were Friends and Office, were going to be going to their own things, that they needed to find a way to keep people wanting to subscribe. And having these official type movies is great. And I think even now, I'm not going to lie, Netflix has been a savior for some entertainment right now for me. I kind of wish everyone who had a movie expected to come out this fall would either partner up with Netflix, even though I know that's not
I
gonna happen.
do miss the days when Netflix was the only streaming service, when you just paid like $6 or something a month and you had all the movies and you didn't have to pay everybody $15 to get content. Like I said, from a public health perspective, this should be the thing. Like, this should be how we get our movies right now. From an entertainment perspective, I still miss going to the theater. I miss, walking in there, smelling the popcorn, walking down the dirty, sticky carpet, trying to find my seat. It's dark, people kicking me in the back. I miss all of that. But I mean, this is the coolest thing we can do right now. Yeah, kids talking and you got to throw something at them. I miss the experience. I love the theater. But that being said, if Netflix can do this, what is Disney's problem? Why do I have to pay $30 on top of my subscription to see Mulan? For what? What for? And I mean, obviously, I think the answer is probably that they're not
Because the mouse wants to
they're not
see,
set up
baby.
to make money and deliver this type of streaming. They didn't prepare for this. Like Netflix, this is what they do. Disney, when they made their budget and did what they did, they weren't planning to give this movie away for free. I get that, but it's trash. It's trash. Not related to this film, but let's get into the review. I just want to throw that in there. I'm not paying $30 to see Mulan, knowing in a month or two it's gonna be free on Disney Plus anyway. So yeah, y'all can keep that. That being said, did y'all like the movie? Let's start there. We start Horatio. You haven't had anything to say. How did you feel about this film in general?
Okay, we'll start with Netflix's. They've been bringing out a lot of different kind of action films, and I think the biggest things that Netflix has been doing really well is landing these really good actors. Landing Ryan Reynolds during this time of them being very hot for Underground 7 was really good. Will Smith, another big name. Now with Project Power, there's Jamie Foxx being attached to this film. I think he's one of the more underrated actors. A lot of people, of course, who've seen his work know that he's outstanding and what he does. But he also plays in a lot of roles that I feel like they underutilize his acting. This is one of them. I like the movie. I still think there's another level that a better level that Jamie Foxx can give you in terms of acting. But as far as this movie just goes in general, yeah, I enjoy it because when you get into it, it kind of lets you know exactly what it is from the get go. Mm-hmm. So you expecting to have some crazy, mind blowing scientific idea about this movie? There isn't. It's just a really simple action, straightforward movie to me, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed the opening scene. We have Machine Gun, not the opening scene, but like the second scene after the opening scene. Machine Gun Kelly basically playing like a meth head, which it's not the first time we've seen this, and also not a stretch. So we got him like staying in the building. Have y'all seen what is that movie? Black and Blue? Black and Blue? That's the same building. It was driving me crazy because it was the same building that Black and Blue took place in. Like some of the major action from that film. The exact.
Didn't Black and Blue take place in New Orleans?
I had to if it was in the same building.
It did, right?
It was
there you go.
New Orleans is one of those cities that if you filming it, you gotta just say you're in New Orleans because no other city looks like it.
I don't know if y'all noticed that, but that was one of the first things that immediately stood out to me is that whole like crack house style apartment was the same one from Black and Blue. Even like the hole in the floor is still there from the last movie. I'm sure
keep it in for any
I'm sure some studio bought it and was like, whenever we need to do act, that's what you do. Like that's an intelligent thing to do. It doesn't look habitable, even though in a movie people live there and people do live in similar conditions. So it was cool, but that stood out to me. But I do like that building. It's perfect for action movies. There's halls you can run down. There's floors you can drop between. It looks totally derelict. Like it's awesome.
Would you do an escape room in some place like that?
That being said, that scene to me stood out. That was set the scene as okay, this is going to be a good movie. There were great effects. And there was good foreshadowing of you seeing his face and him having burns, and you starting to put together, okay, he might have like a fire thing because you're still trying to figure out like what the powers even are. And so you see him pop a pill, and his whole body lights on fire, and there's a scene of him deteriorating and burning while still chasing Jamie Foxx, or running from Jamie Foxx. I don't know. They were chasing. It was a little bit, it was some cat and mouse going on. It was cool. I thought it was really cool. And then to see him OD on the medicine and see the consequences of that, it teaches you what the power is. And it also was super entertaining for me. Like, I really enjoyed the first scene.
I agree with you. I think the first scene was so strong, it kind of made other scenes a little bit weaker. I did also feel that it was a good explanation on a lot of things, but it wasn't, like, for a while, I didn't know you knew what power you were going to have every time you took the pill. I didn't know there was a set power that was just for you, but you didn't find out. I thought his whole body situation was their interesting way of saying, if you use this too much, this is what it's doing to your body. But people love the idea of having powers. It's like I'd look disfigured if I knew I could fly, which I thought was cool. I also agree with young Horatio that Jamie Foxx is underutilized a lot of the times, but I think he knows what type of movies he's in, and he knew like if it was 10 years ago, these are all straight to DVD type movies. I feel like, but Netflix has really been able to tap into that market and make the quality just a little bit better, to where I probably wouldn't be happy seeing this in a theater if I spent $15, but for a Netflix movie, I'm happy. Same thing with The Old Guard with Charlize Theron. Same thing with Extraction with Chris Hemsworth. These are perfect movies, popcorn movies for streaming. And I really like this movie not just because of the concept of how the powers are done, but I do think the chemistry between the three main cast members, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the girl playing Robin, and Jamie Foxx, was surprisingly well done because almost every single conversation was so cliche. I was saying the words they were going to say before they said it, but I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, I do particularly enjoy the chemistry between the actors. One scene that stood out to me that was my favorite non-action, well, it wasn't an action scene, but the action wasn't the part that I liked, was when they they were interrogating the cops, quote unquote cops, were interrogating Robin's mother. And there was that play back and forth of why are you in my house versus someone else breaking in the house. Who do I trust? It was funny. It was stressful. It was action packed. I thought that was really well done. I would agree that there are some down parts into this movie that are just kind of a little dull, but that's okay when you're watching it at home because you can text, you can talk, you can do whatever you want to do. But the parts that are good to me. They're good. One thing, as far as the chemistry that I liked between Jamie Foxx and the girl that played Robin at the end, they start to pick up like a father daughter type relationship, even though he has his own daughter. And to see them, the scene where they're separating, the very end of the movie, they're leaving one another, to see him kind of show her affection and to let him love on her a little bit. We don't really get to see that in movies. You don't like the way he hugged her and the way he kissed her on her head. And like, you don't get to see an adult man showing affection, especially physical affection, to a younger girl in a completely non-sexual way. You don't see that, especially with black people. Like, we don't really get to see that on screen, and I really appreciated just seeing the hug and the kiss and the love between those two characters.
The funny thing is, Jamie Foxx's last two movies that I've seen on Netflix is about him trying to find his daughter.
What's the other
So I
one?
don't know if this is. I think it was called Sleepers or something like this.
Sleepless
It
is
was,
the one with his son.
oh, with his son.
He
Okay.
was looking for his son. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's just something he's putting into his contract because he's trying to make some positive black role model situations. But
I
I
think it was just the paycheck for Sleepless because that movie was horrible. But
I
that's
didn't
neither
see it.
here or there. So
but I also like how Jamie Foxx started off really rough with her, and once it got to a point where like he had to be honest to like partner up with her, how you saw she immediately latched onto him as a male
Mm.
figure in a positive way, and how just because he is a dad, he you can't stop yourself from being who you are, and I really did enjoy that.
And I think as an actor, the rough scenes, where like the interrogation and the pointing a gun and cussing and threatening to kill her mama, um, he did it in a way that as an adult watching this, you could feel that he didn't mean it. Even though he was saying it,
Hmm.
and, am I lying? You could see that he was lying. Like he did a great job of saying, I'm gonna do what I gotta do to scare this kid to get what I need, but also seeing, you can still see that he's not the bad guy. Like, there was never any point in the movie where you actually thought that he might be the bad guy, because he could show that duality of, I'm getting what I need, but I'm not gonna hurt no kids. And that's the thing
I'm
they get
also
across.
really that both of the male leads weren't the bad guys in it. At some point, I would have thought maybe Joachim Gordon-Levitt's character would have been secretly a bad guy, but the fact that they were honestly just who they were was slightly refreshing to me because usually one of the two would have flipped.
Yeah. So, not even flipped. I mean, you have Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, starting out doing drugs. He's a cop on the streets buying quote unquote illegal, not really illegal. They did explain that the drug isn't illegal yet, but he's buying street drugs and taking them and using them on the force. So you're thinking he's the bad guy, because that setup is how you set up a bad cop. But no, he was just like you said, just trying to get an edge. He's fighting people that are taking it. It's not illegal. He's gonna take it too.
Yeah, I think it's a big stretch for a detective who's dedicated to law to helping an actual dealer who's breaking the law clearly to get to use that drugs against supposedly those who did it, but he doesn't have a clearance above him, as you kind of see throughout through the movie where the captain was like, were you using a pill when you tried to get this guy?" And he admittedly said it. But it also set up.
I mean, he
I
got
think it
shot in the
actually.
face in front of everybody. It wasn't no point in lying.
Yeah.
At that point,
Oh,
what
yeah.
what you gonna say?
Yeah, but the thing is that he's obviously, the character's been doing it before, and I guess he's been somehow getting away with it. I don't know how, but now that he, did it in front of the captain, you get the old cliche of the cop who wants to do his own justice, and the whole captain goes, "Give me your gun and your badge." And I was like, all right, well,
I thought that was pretty funny.
I knew this was coming somewhere. Is the cliche cop, "Give me your gun and badge." But then Jamie Foxx played he gave a character a really, really good life, even though it was pretty simple, one-dimensional character where it's no, what was he, Army veteran, I believe he said?
Yeah,
He was like an Army veteran that was trained to kill. And all of a sudden, he's got all the great compassion. He understood that all that killing was not cool for government, had a daughter who I don't know who the mother was, but he had a daughter, and they take it from him, and then he got to get it back. I think the beats for the movie were pretty obvious. That might have been my big, like, maybe I'm just picking at it, but I there was no real surprise.
Yeah, I'm okay with that film. Though. Like I wasn't here for, like you said in the beginning, I wasn't really here for the mind bending. It's just action. Let's see some people, set themselves on fire and run around and shoot things.
I would.
But one of my critiques was the daughter that he was after was underdeveloped for me. I just did not care at all about her. Like her only reason you would care is her relationship to Jamie, and she just, I don't know. I think for me, I understand that she's not a big part of the storyline, so she doesn't have a lot of lines. She doesn't have a lot of action. I get that. So I'm thinking maybe a way to make me care a little more is to make her younger. I think if she were, like 8, then it would be like, oh my God, they're abusing this baby, da da da, and then you would care more. But her being a teenager, she has to have some type of personality. She was obviously being experimented on, so I guess that's why she couldn't speak well. I just would like to have seen something like I said. I think the way to fix that is to make her a small child instead of making her a teenager, because it's just, she didn't matter that much. Your audio is almost completely gone, Jay. Like I can't.
Really?
Yeah, I can't hear you.
I think one of the big things I had an issue with is that I just felt like this was something that should have been a limited, because there's too much information given at once. That exposition of literally them driving in a car and him explaining everything what's happening in this quick little ride. If the child was smaller, that would have made sense. If they would have, because he's saying she's stronger, she's faster. Clearly, we seeing her having multiple levels of skills. Why is she trapped in here? Why are regular humans able to really keep her trapped in here? Because she's not strapped up to nothing. She in a room.
The other powered people were able to blow through walls and stuff on the ship. So why she couldn't? Yeah. I don't know. Especially seeing when Jamie finally used his power, seeing what he could do. It's like, if his daughter's stronger than him, she should have flipped this ship over.
Thing I hate. I love that moment of his power usage, and the fact that was the biggest thing for that few seconds. You can't show me stuff like that once. That is too much of a tease for me. Maybe Marvel has made me feel like power usage to be a lot more free in situations. I get it's a 5-minute situation, but for him to have this power, and yet also kind of spoilers, but he used it in such a way it looks like anybody who's around him gets vaporized.
Yeah,
so how?
Yeah, I didn't like that. That is because it didn't make sense. Yeah. All right, so we need to wrap this up. Moving on. So we're gonna do grades A through F. Jay, we'll start with you. A through F. What do you think?
I'm gonna give it a B. I'm gonna give it a B. I enjoyed it. I didn't have too much of a problem with it. All the cliche stuff I expected, but honestly, it could have been a lot worse. And the power system was cool. Like you said, the graphics were cool. I liked the chemistry with the cast. I don't think I could have asked for too much more without it having to kind of just up its quality level to a point that I don't think was going to happen anyway. So it's a solid B for
Okay.
me.
Young Horatio, what would you give it?
Definitely would definitely give it a B minus because I think the acting wasn't bad. I actually think the acting was actually really good. It was more of the script was a little lackluster, and the motif in the film was "Am I lying?" Which I don't know. I think they overused that. I think that should have just been once for obligatory, and then come at the end. And yeah, the ending with the whole final usage of the power, that was clear. That was a kind of a clear of a budget thing. But I will say this, and I get to point this out about one scene was when he was it Joseph Gordon-Levitt was he was in the ship. There was a guy whose power was like bone breaking, and I think that was a really smart way of budgeting Last Powers for him to be bone breaking because that guy was literally breaking
I
his
just felt
bones.
like he should have been able to
Because,
jump because there's a comment in the beginning about how that power comes from frogs, and he was literally like leaping between storage containers, but he was doing
yeah,
regular leaps. Like I feel like that was just like if you're going to talk about frogs and he has a frog power, why not let the man do some extended jumps just for?
yeah,
You didn't,
here and there. My thing
you didn't
about
think his
the whole,
storage jumps were it? 10
I
feet?
mean,
I think the like,
all right,
I'm
we
sorry,
gotta
I
we gotta
lost
move
track.
on though.
Oh yeah,
So I'm gonna give my grade as a B. I thought I was entertained. It was cool. If y'all don't know, I forgot to mention Chika. She's a Nigerian rapper who is actually really nice. She was in the school scene where Robin was afraid to rap in class, and the girl next to her was like, "You can do it. Here's a beat." Da da da. That's her. She did the rap. She wrote the raps for the music, like all of the freestyles, or quote unquote freestyles and whatnot. So she's really nice, and it was cool to see her in here. Um, so yeah, I would like to see more from her. But like I said, it was a B. I was entertained. If they make another one, there's room for another one. If they make one, I'll watch it. I don't know if the second one will be as good. It's one of those things. I feel like a sequel might suck.
I think it was a one off.
I don't know.
That was a good one
Some of the
off movie.
commentary at the end suggests that it's not over. So like I said, I don't know. Moving on. Umbrella Academy season 2. Um, this leaves off. I mean, starts right where season 1 left off. Season 1 left off with Vanya destroying civilization and what's his name? What's the little mean one's name? Yeah, that's why he doesn't have a freaking
Five.
name. That's why I can't remember five. Five basically teleporting everybody somewhere. And so we see that they land in the early 60s in the exact same place, slightly different years. And the story starts there. I one of the things that immediately disappointed me with that is I was hoping that going in the past that Ben would somehow reverse his situation and be alive, get a body, whatever, since they're going back. Like, I don't know, I was kind of hoping that we would see more of him because I felt like in season 1 he was a tease. Like he was a great character, he was, really had heart, he has awesome powers. I was hoping that through this somehow we would get to actually see him, and it didn't happen, and that was that was one of the major disappointments for me as a season. So I'm just going to talk about Ben's story arc in general, and like I said, spoilers. Um, Not only does he not get a body, he spends the entire season basically taking a back seat to Klaus because Klaus won't tell people he's around, won't let him speak, won't do anything for him, which I found highly annoying because they never really gave a reason for why he does that other than Klaus is a jerk, and that's not okay. Like it's okay once or twice, but for him to continually do that and for no one to know that their brother's sitting right there, like I didn't have. They don't build Klaus as evil. So why would he continually do that? Like, why would you not tell somebody, hey, your brother that's dead is sitting right next to you? Why? So, also, they kill him off. Which I'm like, y'all killed the dead guy. They kill him off without ever bringing him back, and that just burns me. It was like his entire story arc is a tease for me because he was my favorite of the 7 of them. He was my favorite, and so for him to just be in the background, yes, there's a little bit of him getting to walk and talk, and he has his little girlfriend romance, which I loved. Well, that was one of my favorite parts of the season was him and his little boo. Um, but yeah, I was really disappointed with his story arc as a whole.
Even with how the actual last episode ended and how his story arc may not be quote unquote actually ended, you still feel like it's not gonna be redeemed for
It
you?
could be. And that really goes to my feelings about this season as a whole. I didn't particularly enjoy, and so I'm not one. I guess you punish the audience a little bit so that you can bring it back and make that redemption even better. But there's only so far you can push me from like forget it, I don't even care. You know what I'm saying? You killed this boy how many times? You gotten rid of him how many times? You never bring him back. You tease me with his little black girlfriend, and no, I'm annoyed.
And like you said, I don't like it because it makes Klaus's character a lot worse than
Yeah.
he needs to be. Which first season and even this season, it's really just somebody who like is messed up because of what he had to go through and who he had to see to die. And he does. I just don't feel like Klaus, as much as he loves his, lover or I don't even know if it was like his
Mm.
boyfriend necessarily from Vietnam. I just don't feel like Klaus would take away his family knowing that yes, your brother is still here. That just doesn't seem like the character they're trying to
Because
make
like
him
they,
seem
as
like.
far as alignments go, they kind of build him as a chaotic good, heavy on the chaotic. If not maybe chaotic neutral or chaotic good, I would think. And like that part they add evil in for no reason. Like I understand it as a joke maybe once, like just picking on Ben, but he did it the whole time, and I don't understand it.
Yeah,
I don't really have an issue with that because of I think that goes well into his character. Like they didn't break his character at all for like lenient stuff. Typical Hollywood ideal is to always have like the better ending or like the we did everything right accordingly. You don't really see heavy on the consequences when it comes to just taking this typical idea in general. For example, this whole show for me is it's the adult version of X-Men basically. You see it all throughout the all stories. Similar powers, maybe a little bit of similar story, but it's more dark. It's extremely dark, and so the losing of Ben and Klaus, I think that just stayed really consistent to me, and I didn't really have a huge issue with it. However, though, from where I'm at, I wasn't really into the story like that. Maybe because the whole end of the world, it just didn't really have a specific for me at where I'm at, and I don't know. I don't feel too invested into it as much as I thought I would have been. But that's just my opinion, though.
One of the storylines that I did like was Allison's storyline. She's a black woman that ends up in the early '60s, so naturally she falls into the civil rights movement because that's all black people can do in the early '60s, I guess. But that being said, I
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed it. I thought it was cute. I felt like after seeing Watchmen, this felt like play civil rights. But it was cute. I really, really, really liked her husband. I just like who he was as a person. I like the way he was played. I like their romance. Like they were my favorite. Well, my second favorite couple. My favorite couple was Ben and the little freaky chick from the cult. But I enjoyed their marriage. They were only married for a year, but they played it and they had chemistry to make it feel like they had been together for a while. And I really hated. I enjoyed the conflict of he can't leave the movement and she can't stay, and they both had strong convictions and just couldn't, make the marriage work. And I thought that was awesome. Like I really enjoyed all of that.
I also enjoyed how much you got to see um, how Allison, even though she's clearly from the modern times, just felt so comfortable in that
She
time
got her hair
because of
pressed.
him.
She got her little kitten heel on. She was good.
Like, like I don't know how she forgot that she had a daughter from the last season so quickly, but I do see how that romance and that love of him and what he was doing allowed her to feel like if this is my life, this is not a bad life for me. And I think that's really again based off what you said, their connection. I also like the fact that even though once he found out about what she could do, there was a scary moment. I at least understood why he would have thought that because in that time, if you were a civil rights leader and all of a sudden you're seeing this woman being able to tell a white police officer, "Don't kill me," and he just walks away, I
No
would
matter
have
what, it don't
questions
matter if it's
too.
civil rights. She do that today. It's gonna be like, hold up, how you do that?
Yeah,
You got to be the
what's that
feds.
magic trick? Well, yeah,
So
I thought it was. I don't know if. Well, she did explain it to him afterwards, but I thought in his mind he was thinking, "Yo, she white.
and
She got to
he
be white
insinuated
somehow."
that.
She got two white brothers popped up on me. They didn't even like establish like
Nobody.
we're
I mean,
adopted.
I
They
like that
just
they don't.
they straight up just said, "Hey, that's my
They don't
sister."
need to. They are
You
brothers and
know.
sisters. That's all you need to know. But that being said, it ain't like she's couldn't pass for having white siblings. So
anybody in 1965 would have seen her and saw her with like one white brother would have been like, "Well,
yeah.
here we
So
go."
I mean, I don't think that was a stretch. I don't think it needs to be explained. But I do enjoy some of the scenes, and I felt the fear when you have dead white man on your couch. Like that was terrifying to me. It's like, are they gonna get rid of this body? Because if somebody knocks on the door, it's a done deal. Like y'all getting dragged out and hanging from some trees, and you're not gonna make it back to 2019 or whatever. So that was cool. Other characters. Speaking about romances, Vanya, Ellen Page has a romance with a woman. I knew immediately watching it the way she was talking to that lady. I already knew it was something going on undercover. But the person I was watching it with was just like watching it and thinking everything's great. So I guess they did a decent job of building that into the story. But I will say I hated their relationship. I hated it with every fiber of my being because Vanya was just so deeply committed and deeply in love, and the other woman was just like, "I'm doing this because my husband sucks." It was fun, and so I struggled with that deep love versus I don't really care. I'm just doing this on the side, and so for me, it didn't drive the plot because I just wasn't sold on them being in love.
I felt like it was more of Vanya and her way trying
Hmm.
to escape her reality of who she is. And even though they're in this other timeline, technically, or in the past, who she is the world destroyer. You destroyed everything. So if the choice is either being that person or fully committing to this character I'm creating in my head, where I'm deeply in love with this Southern woman, Sissy, and her out of touch husband, I'd rather have this
My problem
than
wasn't
be
Vanya.
that.
My problem was the other character. Like she just got on my nerves. This whole because she was just indifferent to the relationship. She was messing around, and so it was like, oh, I'm gonna stay with my husband. Maybe I'll run. Da da da. I just didn't. Her just finally deciding to run with her kid. I wasn't sold on that because she never sold me on actually even caring at all about Vanya.
Yeah, not in any real
Yeah.
way. Um, do you like that relationship more than the Diego
No,
and
I
the
hated
I
it.
forgot the
I
other
hated that
name.
relationship. But Diego, the character,
Crazy.
for some reason, they decided to make him completely aggravating. Like he had some issues and some daddy issues and some maturity issues in season one, but in season two, he was insufferable. And like I hated almost every scene he was in. Like, it was just whoo. And they never explained the fixation with JFK, which I'm like, are we supposed to just believe that JFK is good and we don't want him to die and that's what his problem is? I just wasn't sold on that, and I said to the person I was watching with, maybe if they had done Martin Luther King instead of JFK, I would be more sold on the this is why we have to save him. But that also may be my black bias. Um, Love JFK. JFK is great. Don't have a problem saving him. I'm just the way Diego was just so fixated on it
Fixated.
never made sense. And like he was in an insane asylum, but they never played it that he was actually having real mental health issues. Like he was just a man, several decades behind where he was supposed to be. So there was never a reason for him to be as fixated as he was, and they never explained it.
I think they just gave hint to it. Just all goes back to the dad. And I kind of think that's like everybody's fallback. Like, we all got issues. Let's blame the dad, And, he did that in the first season. And I thought that they would get over, no, I wouldn't say necessarily get over it, but already establishedly known that, I had issues with my dad. That's why I'm acting this way. And so I thought you would see like some kind of progression in their.
And I get that. I just don't get why JFK in particular. Like I feel like they could have, like I said, Martin Luther King would have made more sense. And then if you did that, you could have tied Allison's situation into it, like them not knowing each other, but knowing he's trying to save MLK, she's trying to do the civil rights movement, then them getting together and being like, okay, we found out, And yeah, whatever. Whatever. I just wasn't sold on YJFK, and he was totally annoying. And that brings up my last point. I hated. I didn't hate. I did not enjoy this show until the last episode or two, and the reason I didn't enjoy it is because I felt like I was watching season 1 all over again. And it was to me the story arc was way too close to what happened in season 1. We have all these brothers and sisters, Ben's still freaking dead, that are separated. Instead of in space, now they're separated in time. They don't really want to be together. They're all doing their own thing. So we have to spend several episodes getting them together. They get together, mess it up, split again, get them back together. Then they finally fight. Daddy's a problem. Like, it was the exact same. And meanwhile, Five is doing shit with his organization. It was the same show in the 60s. And I was bored to death until the end. When they finally get to the climax, then you see something a little different. And I'm disappointed in that. Because I like the characters. I like the concept. But like Horatio said, I would have liked to have seen some growth. If we have the siblings split up and fighting in season 1, we need to bring them back together in season 2. Like, there's no reason to go through that same process again, because we already saw it. So, a little annoyed.
I'm super upset about that, even though I enjoyed the season, because the first episode makes it seem like they are around each other using their powers in such a way that they end up accidentally causing this huge war situation. Like you said, this season should have started them all in the same place. I knew it was going to be at BS when not only do they go into the past, but they're going to the past at different times.
I think that's okay. But I think they should have fixed that by the first episode. They can all go to the past, they can all go to the past at different times. They can all have their own lives because that gives them backstory. But by the second or third episode, I want to see cohesion.
Yeah. And not them just together, because a few of them got together by the second episode. I think Luther, Allison, and Klaus were together, so technically Ben. So 4 of them were there already, but I don't think we even had all of them really honestly together.
Like 6.
Until...
It was damn near 6 episodes in.
Yeah, which makes absolutely no sense, because I'm not here to see the past stuff. I didn't like the fact that we got so much of the handler's information and her daughter.
Yeah, a little too much. I love her outfits, but there was a little too much of her.
Yeah. So I understand, and especially now that we know there's going to be a 3rd season, I understand they're still trying to do the world building, but all of that really needed to be done by the 1st season. I don't need you to do that, because now I'm having the hesitance of the 3rd season seeming like it's going to start really awesome. Like, it looked like the 2nd season was going to start really awesome. But I don't want to have to go through daddy issues again. We get it. Y'all daddies suck. So did mine. It's okay.
And it was really annoying that he doesn't, like, come around or have any kind of logical sense. Like, man, these kids keep saying they're from the future. Maybe I should actually, partake in whatever that they're talking about. He was just... when they initially met him, just straight a-hole, and just kept it, kept it strong. And they just keep like, oh, this is the reason why we don't like you. And it's like, I don't even know why well, I know why they came after him, but after a while, I just gave up on it.
Can I be real? We just saw 2 shows that have dealing with powers. I saw more power usage used in the show where they can only use their powers for 5 minutes. Than the show that is all about these Negroes having power since they were kids. The only one who used his powers, and he's the only character I have no problems with, I kind of wish he continues, is 5.
Yeah.
5 is the only one who feels like he's with it. Granted, he's supposed to be technically the oldest one, so yeah, that's what he's about. But Luther, man, So the only thing awesome about you is the fact that you just got a gorilla body. You're
And
not
he
gonna
don't
show
use it. Like, yeah,
nothing
he was a
about
boxer
that.
in the first episode of the show, but after that, we lose him. I forgot in this conversation, I forgot
Yeah.
that he was in the show.
You know what I mean? Allison had her little moment. Diego, I thought the boy could throw knives. Apparently,
I
he
thought that
got
was
some
just
type of
me. I was
telekinetic
like,
powers.
like I said, I thought he was a good like knife bender. I didn't realize he had all around telekinesis. Where did that come from? That was random. Also, would have been a good opportunity to use Ben, who has tentacles of death.
Yeah, I think they underutilized their powers in season 1 as well. So I'm kind of not surprised that they did this in season 2, because the whole show is just based on more drama than it is for actual like, oh, these things got powers, because they didn't really explore that phenomenon
See,
at all.
in
Anyways,
season 1 is
so it's
supposed to
just
be building. And now I can accept that they weren't using their powers, they weren't together. I can accept all that for the first season, but they teased us by showing us them as children, and as children they were a cohesive group that was kicking ass. And so I thought in season 2 that's where we were going to go as adults, that they were going to get back to their roots and that they were going to do their thing as a team. And it just
And you know what's gonna happen in the third season? Because I can
same.
already gonna tell. They're gonna find out why their father has been so distant. They're gonna see him be differently towards these other kids, so they're gonna be real upset about that and have new daddy issues. We're gonna see these other kids being really cohesive, and these Negroes still somehow acting like they don't know how to use these powers with each other. And am I gonna watch it? Yes, because Netflix, I got nothing else to do. I'm on
Literally,
lockdown. But I'm not really happy to see through
I'm gonna watch
seasons
it and
of this.
frown.
And you guys make way too much money for the excuse just to be like
It's not
budget.
budget because it's a story problem. Like the graphics are great, the costumes were amazing. You got nice sets. It ain't the budget; it's the writers. So all right,
Yeah.
so we are gonna wrap it up here. A through F. Young Horatio, we're gonna start with you.
uh, I, I mean, so far for me, it's a B, but that might go lower, that might go higher. I'll just, um, yeah, that's all I got for that.
Funny enough, I'm gonna say it's a B. I know I just said I didn't like some of the things, but I do like the characters. I do like the ideas of the powers. I thought the background and the past, present stuff is really awesome. But I'm telling you, if Five was not as amazing as he is in this show, it could easily be a C minus to me,
Five
just
carries
off
the
of that
show because
alone.
he's really
Uh,
talented.
he really, which I want to give that young boy, because he's really 16, 17 years old in real life, for him to be able to carry that show with all them grown ass folks, and he's the most interesting character bar none. They need to raise their level up because it don't make no sense. He's carrying the show.
Like did you see
So
there's some discussion online about having him play Robin? Um, in a Batman and Robin reboot,
yes,
that would be yeah. Y'all better catch
yeah,
this boy before he's grown because he definitely could do it.
yeah,
I don't think I
yeah.
want to see a Robin on the big screen anymore. If
They
that
need to.
opportunity
They
kind of
haven't done
shit.
it in
We
ever.
never have
Like
it.
we haven't since the '90s.
Said
So
that
we just
before.
said ignore it. George Clooney
Like I
didn't have
said,
no
since the
Robin in his
'90s, we
filming.
haven't seen a freaking
Those
Batman.
Yeah,
don't count. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you guys had that opportunity once Batman. There was 3 movies from Batman.
Which
There
is
was no
trash.
Robins or
we're about to
hints.
have a new Batman.
I
Robert
And
mean, when there
Robert
was a
Pattinson's
remake, but
not
there
gonna
was no
carry the movie, so let's
Robins
do it.
or hints.
Like,
I
I'm
think
just saying
Robert
he
Pattinson.
wants
I
to do
don't.
all
I don't
right,
know.
Robin. 16, he clearly knows how to
he's got
do
the
it, and he
look.
can carry a show.
All right,
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I mean,
all right.
absolutely, I
So for
agree.
me, that's a B minus. Um, because like I said, it started off okay. The middle, I was just really bored because it was the exact same storyline as the first one. But only reason it's not a C is because the last episode or two is where they finally diverged from the original story, and I thought it was all right. Like I said, I like the characters. The only reason it's a B. I like most of the characters. I hate Vanya. Like she's dull and dry and whiny and can kill her. I just,
If
ugh.
she destroys the world one more time, like we get it.
And I
Give this
love
girl
Ellen
something else to
Page.
do.
I do. Like I've seen I've not grew up, but as a young adult, watched so many of her films. Like she's awesome. But Vanya, boy, I, yeah, like she should be learning to control
Gotcha.
herself. And they gave her a little of that, but she should be doing a better job of actually doing something functional than she is. Um, all right, so we're gonna wrap it up. Notes. So people who listen to us on the podcast may not know. I know you've heard me say that we have a Twitch channel. Um, you may not know that where we've been for the past several months is Twitch. We've been doing streams. We call them NJL and Chill, where we speak for about an hour, hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours on various social issues, news, anything. We don't do reviews there. That's one thing we do reserve for the podcast. But we just basically talk about what's going on in the world. It is unstructured, unscripted, unedited because it's live. And we do. I know a lot of you would like to hear. What's it called? Yeah, basically.
Cussing.
I was trying to say that in a nice way, but y'all want to hear behind the scenes footage of how we really talk. That's on NJL and Chill. So go to Twitch, twitch.tv/BlackNerdCast, Black Nerd CAST as in podcast, and we do those on Tuesdays and Thursdays at about 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So that's I truly enjoy doing those. We've been doing so many of those. Is the reason we haven't done the podcast, because we are actively putting it. Yeah, so we've done 30 of them. So we're actively putting out content on that platform. So if you want to see more, or you want to see and hear more of us uncut, unscriptured live, that is where unscripted live. That is.
I got
Jesus ain't on the podcast. No, I'm kidding. That was. Anyway, so that's on NJ and Chill. And also on Saturdays, every other Saturday, we play Dungeons and Dragons on there, which we're actually starting to get into a groove and getting a little better at it. So, really, really awesome if y'all come watch that. And we also play games every now and then on air. If you that's what Twitch is for. We do that once a blue moon. As always, we're looking for new guests. If you want to be a guest, join us in our Discord. Our Discord is actively linked on the Twitch, but if you contact us on social media, we can get you linked into the Discord. The reason I don't post that is because when you post those links, especially with a title like ours, you're inviting a lot of trolls, a lot of racists to hop in and try to start some mess. So if you want to join our chat, our server where we have different types of chats going, make sure you contact us and I can get you a link for that. All right. So as always, subscribe to us in iTunes, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, Pocket Cast, Podbean, all of that jazz. Follow us on Twitter at Black Nerd Cast, Black Nerd CAST as in podcast. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Negro Justice League. Make sure you go to negrojusticeleague.com. That's where our legacy podcast episodes exist. In a searchable format. I do like to emphasize that. If you want to say, hey, there's this movie I saw 3 years ago. I don't know if there's an episode of Negro Justice League about that. Just go to negrojusticeleague.com and you can search our episodes and pull up whatever it is you need. Like I said, follow us on twitch.tv/BlackNerdCast and rate and review us everywhere. But in particular, iTunes ratings and reviews help us get to new listeners and new people. Also, if you would like to support us financially, we do have a store at negrojusticeleague.com where you can buy merchandise. We have t-shirts, we have cups, we have blase. One thing that you can, young Horatio does have a Negro Justice League shirt on right now. I know y'all can't see it, but he's got it on. Rate and review us on iTunes. No, that's not what I meant to say. What I meant to say. Oh, if you go to Twitch and you have Amazon Prime, if you have an Amazon Prime membership, that means you also have a Twitch Prime membership. For free. It's connected to your Amazon Prime. And with that Twitch Prime, what you can do is it gives you one subscription to a Twitch channel of your choice for free. And so you can go to our channel, you can subscribe every month. They give you one subscription. You subscribe to us and we actually get paid for that. And so it doesn't cost you anything because you already got Amazon Prime, but we do make a little money. It helps us pay the bills to produce this show because this is not free, y'all. So if you're an Amazon Prime member and you can come see our live content, come do that on our Twitch channel. Next episode, I do not have an agenda yet because our schedule has been erratic due to the pandemic. So follow us on social media, do something, get in the groove. I would say the most of our information is in the Discord. So join the Discord server. If you don't know what that is, it's basically like GroupMe or a chat. It's a chat room where we have different rooms where you can talk to us. You can talk to other Negro Justice League people. I think there's like somewhere between 50 and 60 people in there. So, all of you are welcome. Contact us and you can definitely get involved in that. That being said, that's the end of the episode, y'all. We'll have another one out eventually. And all I've got to say now is I'm Cherry and this was the Negro Justice League.